Hi everyone, very good morning and a very warm welcome to the Evolve Delhi NCR chapter. I am Naman, Associate Director Customer Success at Meritto, and I'm delighted to host this panel discussion on integrating technology in the enrollment processes. Well, it's a privilege to have such a distinguished experts on the panel today to share their insights with us. And before we delve deeper into the discussion, I would request the esteemed panelists to please introduce themselves, starting with please Dr. Mitesh.
Hello, yeah. Hi, good morning everyone. I am Dr. Nachiket Bhatia. I am the CEO of DBMC and eGurukul. And we actually deal with a very specialized coaching sector in India. We teach doctors who are preparing for the specialization exam. Currently, we have 100 centers across the country, and we have our own EdTech division, which is called eGurukul. So this is a small description about what we do and how we do it. And it's a 27-year-old company. It was started by my dad in 1996, and this year, basically in 2024, we actually complete 28 years in the industry. Thank you.
Thanks, Naman. Thanks, Dr. Nachiket. A very good morning to everyone. My name is Abhishek Sharma. I head the business. I'm the Chief Business Officer for Vidya Mandir Classes, which is almost a 4-decade-old organization. We started with the JEE test prep, and now we are into medical test prep. We are into study abroad. We are very big way into the online test prep, and we are also into the CUET, which is the Common University Entrance Test. And those of you who have driven here today would have probably heard Think IIT, Think Vidya Mandir. So that's us. So I'm sure you hear it many times. It's an organization which was founded by 4 brothers, and we have stayed true to our founding principles. We count student first as one of our founding principle, and whatever decision that we have taken over last 4 decades have probably resonated with that thought that whatever helps the student do better is what we try and do. And that is why we have probably a lot of firsts to our name during this journey. And just to rattle off a couple of them. So you would have probably not heard of this concept 40 years back that a coaching institute would take an entrance test. Usually what happens is that anyone who wants to study can come in and study. But our idea was that let us focus on those few that we can concentrate best on and those we can guide best. So this concept of coaching institutes also having an entrance test was essentially started by Vidya Mandir. And other thing that we are really, fairly proud of is that when during the COVID everything went into lockdown, within 48 hours we were able to take some 30,000 odd students online, and we ensured that learning as such never stopped for them. So that was something that made us, that makes me very proud of being part of this organization. And over years we have done a lot of things, and it's considered a very humane organization. We try, and even when we are talking about coaching, which is otherwise fairly stressful, we talk about stress-free. We talk about how joy and education can be combined, right? Because if you are studying for the joy of learning, then competitive exam or board exam or every exam is going to come very naturally to you. And that has been, and I think some of that would be espoused later on when one of our founders would be here today, and they would be talking a bit more about this. So, thank you.
Hello everyone, thank you for the kind introduction. My name is Prachi, I'm the country head for Manchester Metropolitan University. Something about myself, so been in this education industry for almost 17 plus years. It's been a decade with Manchester Met, hopefully goes longer. And a quick brief about the university. So Manchester Met actually completes its 200 years as of 2024. So we are actually starting series of different celebrations that we could do to even give back to the community, the kind of students and educational stakeholders that we have worked with in the country. And that is overall what Manchester Met has to actually offer, which is working with the community and seeing what best we could do with the students. It's one of the largest and oldest universities of UK since 1824. So looking forward to talking to everyone here and exchanging your ideas and views of how we can actually grow together. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Libu Thomas, and I head the business of Admit Card. We are an overseas education firm. We send students to universities like Manchester Met. So compared to some of my panelists who've been in the business for a long time and legacy brands of 30, 40, 200 years, we are a startup, still finding our way in this dog-eat-dog world of overseas education. We are an ed tech platform. We service our students completely through an online model. Everything is done on a platform. Everything is transparent for students to understand in terms of their journey. Along with technology, we marry humanization into our process through our Mentor Connect program. So all our students actually speak to international students who are already studying abroad before they make their decisions, because one of the key aspects of overseas education is the transparency involved in it or the lack of it. So most education counselors, and someone like Prachi will agree with me, have not traveled out of the country or even left their state, and they are talking about what it is to study abroad. So it's extremely important that students guide students, and that's one of our biggest mantras. We are a product of the COVID era, and we've learned a lot from what happened during the COVID times, and that's what we use to ensure that our students can go through the entire process from the comfort of their home. We are available to them 24/7. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. I'm excited and thrilled because if you look at the panel, right, it's a very diverse panel. I am excited because the kind of, I'm sure the input that we would be getting on the table, right? Because if you look, we have a higher ed panel, we have somebody from the study abroad, JW coaching, medical coaching, right? So I am excited to see like what all insight we're able to put together, and I'm sure the audience will have their own lot of key takeaways. Well, throughout our discussion, I would request the audience to engage highly, right? And if you have any questions, please hold on to them. We will be able to take your question towards the end of the session. And if the time allows, else otherwise we'll be able to take up the questions with the panelists during the networking break. Well, with that, the need for the integrating technology into the enrollment processes is day by day increasing and becoming more vital, considering our evolving landscape. And with that, it brings forth its own unique set of challenges, its own unique set of, again, opportunities, and the potential to transform how any educational institution attract, engage, or enroll. So with that, my first question probably is to you, Ms. Prachi. If you talk about, right, Manchester Metropolitan University being one of the international premium university, how do you emphasize that in terms of challenges and terms of the student journey? Because if you talk about international, it can be tricky and complex as compared to any locally based university, because it's largely virtual. Students will not be able to maybe visit the campus, physical tours, all that, right? So if you could largely throw light on how you've been able to incorporate technology in this enrollment process, please.
Sure. Thank you for the question. To be very honest, if I talk about technology, and not specifically just for my institution, but in general for the UK sector, it's fairly new, and I'm sure some of my colleagues who've joined me today from some other UK institutions will agree with that. There are a lot of UK universities, especially the ones who were government universities, transferred themselves from a traditional university into a modern university very recently, because of the fact that up till COVID era, no one really thought that they had to rely on technology for not just enrollments, admissions, but even on service delivery. What I said in the beginning, that a lot of the institutions will have their own motto. That being said, for Manchester Met, it has always been to give back to the community. So for us, this technology literally transformed from 2020, when we ourselves launched a platform to offer free programs for students who couldn't really join during the COVID era. Like very rightly, you even added that during COVID, a lot of students just couldn't join the classes, and many institutions struggled on how they can not just gain enrollments and increase profitability, but even give back to the students who are really looking to learn. So those kind of modules are still here up to date, and it's still free. If you go on our website, it's called Rise Campaign, for example. But in addition to that, few other elements apart from giving knowledge and other elements, technology actually helped us even understand how we can not just look at increasing our numbers, but even reach out to the remote areas. For example, over these past few years, we've been able to engage with students from the remotest village of Kerala to Madhya Pradesh to Bhopal, which we never imagined we would do. Our team, because of for n number of reasons, which I'm sure a lot of you will agree, we all have marketing budgets and restraints. We do not visit a lot of cities that will not get us a lot enrollments, but because of this platform that we are using, be it Zoom or be it Teams or any other enrollment system, CRMs that we are using, we were able to deliver these virtual sessions, and they've been able to join with that. And few brilliant examples out of that is that they didn't even just join, they received really impressive scholarships because we ran certain competitions, COIL projects being the collaborative online learning projects that we did, and students were able to do brilliantly well in those, and they even got scholarships for it. So I think, yeah, it's definitely something that we all need to tap in more to.
Well, interesting insights probably, right? As ma'am, you mentioned how the technology has helped you break the barriers in terms of reaching out and penetrating largely into tier 2 and tier 3 markets and building that, maybe bridging that communication gap. So largely what happens, ma'am, if you look for any higher ed, any education or not just higher ed, any other category, if you look at the enrollment complete end-to-end journey of a student, right, we largely divide into 3 categories, right? The first we talk about the input layer, then it's the middle layer, and then the output. Input, when I say input, largely focuses on say lead centralization, data management, campaign, marketing part, right? And the middle talks about the LMS and ERP, and then the output talks about placement and recruitment LM part. So we will be focusing largely on today on our the first layer, that is the enrollment piece, which is again a very critical component, and how it, because if that is the top of the funnel, if that is control and optimize, automatically middle and the output gets impacted. So largely want to understand from international campus point of view, how is it largely managed, or how do you look at it? Do you how do you look at the need for a platform, or how do you evaluate?
For us, if I talk about the kind of CRM platforms that we've been using to increase our numbers, have largely been not just to do the sales drive, I'll say, because from a university's point of view, I'll be very honest, university offices will never be a lot of sales oriented, because education at the end of the day is completely on word of mouth reference. So literally we get organic admissions, but still to manage the profit levels for the institutions, we really rely largely on the data analysis in terms of the kind of market intel we can gain, which manually might not be possible working through formulas on an Excel or spreadsheet. Lately, if I may say, there's been huge change in trend because of the recent fluctuations in the visa rules for the UK government. And it literally shook the whole market from where we were thinking we'll never have admissions. It suddenly changed to the subject areas which never really recruited for us before COVID, and since now have been really picking up for us. So I believe that analysis is so critical, because not everyone in your team, even if you talk about the recruitment team or the marketing team, will come with that mindset or that skill set that they know how to work on it. So these tools actually help them get that data rather than having that knowledge on their own.
Absolutely. Largely focusing upon data visibility, insights, and so that decisions are largely data driven and rather than ad hoc and random. Yeah, great. Absolutely. So your insights, maybe the direction which you pointed, it automatically brings me to the admit card, Mr. Lew Thomas, because if you talk about the admit card has largely been revolutionizing how any applicant maybe accesses the international higher ed across the globe. So, and when I talk about, right, the study abroad, again, it's a very tricky piece, because entire mindset, the entire the challenges, everything changes. The kind of, it's like as an applicant, if I'm looking for a study abroad, everything changes. What I ask, what I need, even it's like the question can be as basic as, say, do you have any veg food, or do you have any local grocery there? So how do you ensure that with that, maybe with the role of technology in this enrollment process, how do you ensure that end user applicant experience is enhanced, how you are able to build that trust with the role of this technology in this enrollment process, sir?
Well, it's an interesting question. So there are two parts to the technology bit, right? One is how do you maximize your business, okay, through technology, and the second aspect is how do you engage with your client, or in this case, a student in the business. There are in this business, it's quite unique because the buyer and the user are two different people. The user is the student, the buyer is the parent. So as much as you're engaging with students, you also need to engage with parents. And that obviously is not the easiest thing to do because the ticket size is immense. You're spending 35, 40 lakhs a year. We use technology in two different ways when it comes to engaging with students. One is from the counselor's angle. There are critical information about a student and which means different things to different countries and different universities. So let's assume you have a student who's just recently married and they want to study in the UK. Technology, through our systems, it'll immediately prompt the counselor to say, oh, if you're going to go for your master's and it's a taught master's, you can't take your spouse along with you. So the first question that the counselor will ask the student is, okay, if you're married, are you planning to take your spouse along with you? If that is the intention, then maybe you can't go to the UK, you may want to go to Australia, you may want to go to some other country. There are critical information around that. For example, let's assume you've studied in a particular university that unfortunately has been blacklisted internationally. The moment, and it's not obviously a student's fault, okay, he didn't know that, but it matters in the long run. So immediately technology will prompt the counselor to say that, oh, this is amongst the blacklisted universities, so there is a problem. So this technology through what we call sense allows the counselor to direct counseling in a particular manner, so that's extremely transparent and that the student doesn't have surprises later in the journey. The next aspect of technology at Admit Card is transparency. So every student wants to know what is happening with their applications. It's not straightforward, it is completely layered. There are multiple aspects to it. You put in an application, you fulfill conditions, you've got to pay a deposit, there are deadlines involved, all of that. And it's quite difficult to manage when a student has about 7 or 8, sometimes even 10 applications. What does he want to do? Is he going to get his information on time? We can't always be human dependent because humans are prone to forgetting. So again, technology really plays a huge role there where, again, in a completely automated fashion, a student is informed about what he has completed, what are his next steps, what does he need to do, are there any critical deadlines involved. Universities are continuously communicating with students, and most of the time they don't communicate directly as well. They communicate through a consultancy like Admit Card. So a student doesn't have that information. Sometimes a student would get an offer and it takes 2 weeks for somebody to realize the offer is there. So this is where technology really plays an important role, and this is what Admit Card again specializes in, to ensure that we are able to communicate with the students real time. They are able to understand, where they are in the journey, whether they've got acceptances, whether they've got rejections, whether they need to wait. And what we've realized is that where there is transparency, there is trust. And the moment you build trust with your student and with your parent, it's half the battle won. And technology plays a huge role in that. In the past, and this is something that we must understand, 15 years back, students had to refer to brochures, and prospectuses to understand, what is there. Today, students are more knowledgeable than consultants. You get all the information at the click of a button. They are coming to us not really seeking advice. They're coming to us seeking validation for their thoughts. So again, with technology, you eliminate incompetency, you eliminate lack of knowledge, because you're able to communicate, able to get a lot of information from all across, and then communicate that real time.
Great. With that, probably that also maybe raise another question for me, right? As you talked about, absolutely, if I have to maybe recap, right, you largely stressed upon eliminating largely manual interferences so that A, data points are ready available on the system, it brings in transparency, your team is able to access the data in the clicks. But the another question that comes to me is when you talk about the study abroad vertical, sir, how does your marketing mix generally looks like? How do you target? And because in terms of when you are targeting the applicants, which is the traditional mode of a communication you're heavily dependent on, WhatsApp, email, SMS, or how do you manage it, plan your it accordingly for the study abroad?
Well, you're asking me a trade secret. Okay, so interesting. It's marketing today has become very difficult. Okay, so you can't do traditional marketing. You can't be putting hoardings and newspaper and cutouts and stuff like that. That doesn't work anymore. At the same time, marketing on, let's say, Google platforms and all have become extremely expensive. Okay, the PPC rates shoot like crazy. You're spending 1,000 rupees a click. For a company like Admit Card, a large CAC leads to a lot of cash burn, which we've got to be very, very conscious of. We can't be spending 50% of your revenues on CAC. Okay, it becomes extremely difficult. So for us, again, we use technology in a slightly different manner. We actually run close to 300 or 350 odd WhatsApp groups. So the whole concept revolves around hosting students who are interested in studying abroad. So anybody who's interested in studying abroad, they've got questions, we're very happy to answer them. We're not Admit Card in those WhatsApp groups. We're just giving good advice. At some stage, a student will say, you know what, do you know somebody you can help? We're like, this is the way we do it. You can speak to Admit Card. At the same time, we engage with a lot of influencers internationally and in the national space. So we've got about 37 odd influencers who are themselves international students, who have been international students, and they are connected with a lot of students, easily close to 100,000 subscribers each. So again, students, no matter what, will trust a human being more than just a brand. So Nike can say whatever they want to say about Nike, but if Usain Bolt wears a Nike shoe and says this is a good shoe, okay, someone's going to buy it. So when a student, obviously through their journey, talks about what their roadblocks were and how it could be helped, and that's again another way of the way we get marketing involved. Again, technology again has to play a huge role in it, purely because influencers work on YouTube, Instagram, all of that. And our integration with these platforms is also extremely strong. So we are able to, again, quickly turn around student queries, reach out to them real time. Students are inquiring at 10 in the night. They don't want a call at 11 in the morning. They want an answer immediately. And our integration with technology allows us to speak to the student real time, at least connect with them, keep them engaged, and then take it forward in the day.
Great. Thank you so much for your insights, sir. Well, my next question is directed to Dr. Nachiket Bhatia. So, well, if we talk about, sir, DBMCI is one of the leaders in the medical coaching centers across the country, and you have played a pivotal role in that transitioning from, again, a traditional to a complete 360-degree online learning platform. And absolutely, yeah, your journey has been inspirational, because I guess in one of your articles I was going through, you had also mentioned it's like how you had experienced it firsthand as an MBBS student. And it was like you had reached a point wherein you had, again, that quote we say that Bhatia hai to bharosa hai. So that was, maybe you had mentioned it was doubtful, and that's when you took a call to completely revamp, we need to transform it. So if you could throw larger light on that, how you led that change and what it took to completely revamp that flow.
Well, thank you for this. Thank you for.
I'm sorry, it can be overwhelming question because I've covered the entire, so please.
No, I totally agree with that. And I think being the youngest here, I would actually tell Abhishek sir that जो आपने अभी बात कही ना एंट्रेंस टेस्ट की, तो उसका एक स्टूडेंट मैं भी रहा हूँ. तो जब मुझे लगा था, क्योंकि मेरे डैड डॉक्टर हैं, तो जब मैं पैदा हुआ था तो मेरे माथे पे लिख दिया गया था कि डॉक्टर बनेगा. मुझसे पूछा नहीं गया था, बता दिया गया था. तो मैं भी रेबल था 10th के बाद लगा कि नहीं हम भी VMC करेंगे उसके बाद IIT निकालेंगे एंट्रेंस टेस्ट में इतना गंदा फेल हुआ कि समझ में आ गया डॉक्टर ही ठीक है So I have also attended Chote Bhaiya's demo class and I was truly amazed because the man is a genius. The way he speaks and he actually transforms. And trust me, when I entered the coaching field myself, I realized कि what must be his thought when he said that entrance coaching के लिए आपको एक entrance test देना है. And I think that you had very strict rules that if you are found कि आप entrance test की entrance exam के लिए अगर coaching ले रहे हो तो आपको बाहर निकाल दिया जाएगा. So I thought कि IIT से मुश्किल तो ये टेस्ट है. So I think that, yeah, I'm sure if I am lucky enough to meet him, take his blessings, I'm sure I will do that. But talking about what you just said, my friend, I think so. DBM has a very rich legacy where we were into offline coaching, and offline coaching has its ups and downs. But I think COVID was a time which actually changed everyone. I think I'll agree with Prachi that when COVID happened, we also did this thing, the amazing thing Abhishek sir did, 30,000 students. We had almost 40,000 admissions at that time. And in a couple of days, thanks to Class Plus, I will actually thank Bukul Hatogir, that small app basically transformed our complete business. On a couple of days, we were back on track and we did not have to think. And being a doctor, our tech part is always very weak. All right. Our maths is weak, our tech is very weak. So, and because of that thing, we were able to get our students to online. And the best part was, before 2019, so my faculties are like very experienced senior faculties. They were all very apprehensive about technology. Very apprehensive. I mean, the camera सामने आती ना, वो डर लगता था उनको कि ये क्या हो रहा है, record हो जाएगा, leak हो जाएगा. And this was the biggest problem. But even my father, he's the senior most faculty, most apprehensive about technology. COVID, in a couple of days, he was simply adjusting to every new thing. And a couple of months, he was, recording things himself. He did not even need a tech person. And I'm talking about the man who could not operate WhatsApp till 2018. Okay, that was his apprehension about technology. So that was one thing which actually helped me a lot in convincing people that let's go online. And the second thing, I mean, I always believe that technology in enrollment is what, I'll tell you something. We did this experiment that how we are always focusing on reducing the customer acquisition cost. I think this is the biggest pain point of every coaching institute. And kudos to Physics Wala for actually making this thing possible, that even a zero CAC is possible in the tech world. So we simply, there's always pamphleting outside exam centers, right? We have seen it from million years कि हर बच्चा pamphlet लेके फेंक रहा होता है. हम coaching वालों को पता होता है कितनी दिक्कत है. इतने pamphlet छपो, वहाँ जाओ नीचे पड़े होते हैं. दुख तो होता ही है. So we simply did this thing that we put a small QR code which actually took the student to our YouTube sample lectures. And trust me that it actually helped our business. Because जिसके पास रखा है, जो माँ बाप बाहर खड़े हैं, वो simply scan करके हमारे YouTube पर lecture देख रहे हैं. Where we have put this video that why Bhatia, how to join Bhatia, क्या है, किस तरीके से है, और customer acquisition क्या है, 50 पैसे. अगर 1000 बच्चों में से 10 बच्चा भी देखता है, so 50 पैसे में आपको एक admission मिल रहा है. I think that was a big victory for us. जो हमें realize हुआ कि हम simple जो इतने सालों से करते आए, the traditional conventional way of marketing, it actually is a much better way to reach the student and show the sample lectures. And लोगों ने देखा. उसके बाद the best thing that I realized that technology actually made it happen was, it removed the middleman between the faculty and the student. True. So when the YouTube session started, to COVID के बाद, we went to YouTube, we talked to the student, we realized that when the faculty even if I am counseling the student directly, it has 100 times more efficiency than if a salesman is doing that. And the student, when is convinced by the faculty, is of course more prone to enrollment. CAC going to almost zero. And also, when we are talking directly to the student, even our convincement, our commitment towards the student, the word would be student की अच्छाई के लिए हमारी तरफ से भी जो कोशिश है वो 1000 गुना ज़्यादा आ रही है. Because now there is no way that we can escape the students' wrath. We are there because we were the ones who actually promised that. So now the company actually became centralized, and in 2021 we had almost 60,000 students. I would proudly say that I was connected to almost 50,000 people directly. Wow. And because of that simple thing that I was going to YouTube and talking to the student, which was a new thing for us also. और सीखा भी हमने कैसे, जब हमने वादे करे, कुछ वादे थोड़े ज़्यादा हो गए, so बच्चों ने वापस पेला भी उतना ज़्यादा. And that's the moment I realized that now I have to be 100% committed to myself and every word that I'm speaking. And there I believe that technology made us better. Every student that enrolled would say कि मैं इस डॉक्टर नचिकेत की वजह से या डॉक्टर रजत की वजह से डॉक्टर थमीम की वजह से ज्वाइन कर रहा हूँ. And there, our name was in the middle, not just the brand, but every individual became the brand. And I think that was one of the main reasons we could actually move to an online platform. Uske baad the product was there, everything was there, but these are the few things which I personally believe were the ones who actually revamped our business into a student-first business.
Wow, thank you so much for those insights.
Thank you.
Well, with that, we had talked about medical coaching. So ultimately, I'll be coming to you, sir, now, Abhishek, sir. So Vidya Mandir classes, again, pioneer for the JEE coaching in India, and inspirational journey, right? I guess started way back in 90s with 10 students, I guess, around 10, with a 10 students, somewhere around 10 students. Yes, 11 students it started, and today it's synonymous for JEE success today. So how have you seen your, if you could throw light on how has technology helped VMC evolve in this journey? And when we talk about integrating tech into the enrollment, it doesn't come easy. It comes with its own set of challenges. And if you could largely also throw light on what sort of challenges probably were faced throughout the journey and how VMC as a team was able to overcome that and achieve this resounding success.
Sure. Thank you, Naman. I think your question is slightly long, so allow me some extra time to.
Yep.
So what I'll do is I'll start with, try to explain what exactly the complexities and the variances are. So like you said, it is an evolution. The education landscape is evolving, but it is evolving very, very fast, in fact. And COVID was just one of those catalysts which pushed that speed even further. So there are a lot of complexities, there are a lot of, lot of ambiguity, lot of volatility in the system. In fact, it is such a stage that more than probably an evolution, it would be a revolution right now, right? The way tech is being integrated. And on that stage of revolution, you can say probably the student and the parent combined, like Libu was mentioning, the parent-student combined, which is sort of your customer or a consumer and consumer, is in the center, and they are surrounded by various service providers who cater to specific needs. Now, those service providers could be a kindergarten or a school or a university, a college, definitely a study prep, like they have mentioned, and also coaching centers or tuition centers. And on top of all of them are regulatory bodies or statutory bodies which make policies like, we have the NEP right now. The idea of those policies is essentially that the parent-student combined should definitely benefit, but at the same time, the other players, the other groups, should also thrive successfully, right? Because finally, it is an ecosystem. And recent entrants into those ecosystems are solution providers to those service providers. So who are those solution providers? They are companies like Meritto, which take care of probably the attendance, the enrollment, the fee collection. Yeah. And these are just the groups. Like, if we start putting numbers into those groups, then it is mind-boggling, So when we are talking about parent-student combined, we are not talking about small numbers. In India, we are talking about hundreds of millions. In fact, we are talking about probably 250 million student-parent combined. And because if you include parents, the number actually doubles. True. So we're talking about 500 million people over there. When we talk about, I think schools, we would have probably 15 lakh odd schools, probably 10 million odd teachers, 100 million odd teachers, 1,000 or probably 1,100 universities, 50,000 colleges, and so many test preps and probably, if you look at the unstructured ones, probably tuition center, probably every mohalla would have one. So, and a student can go to one school and one coaching institute. He would definitely go to a college. He may choose to go to a study abroad also. So the linkages and the connections that we can have with these millions numbers would actually run into trillions. So it is, imagine a a small change in the policy and what is the kind of ramification it would have. Or not a policy, a black swan event like COVID was, and imagine the changes it would have for that kind of an industry or a ecosystem. And this is where technology plays a very stabilizing role.
True.
It plays the role of an integrator, you know. It also removes complexities. It also removes, opaqueness. He mentioned the transparency being one of the biggest advantage. It removes those, it provides transparency. It removes repetitiveness, right? You don't have to, 5 people don't have to check your same form again. You put it in once, 5 people can log in later on and probably go through it. And of course, it speeds up the entire process. Because finally, whether it is enrollment or actually getting that service, the idea is to get the outcome-based result. But usually the enrollment process itself is so, I'm sure all of us have gone through that, and like you mentioned that, British universities are a recent adopters of the technology. So student doesn't go through an easy time during that. It's a enrollment process in itself is a festival, and not probably the most pleasant of the festivals, right? So technology has simplified that greatly. And our experience has been similar to what, like they mentioned. COVID was definitely a life-changing event. It was also not a very pleasant time for humanity as such, and there were losses of life, losses, economy, jobs, difficult time for everyone, definitely loss of profitabilities. But yes, it also pushed us. It pushed us to break those boundaries, whether those were the boundaries of geography or boundaries of budget constraints, boundaries of strategy, or boundaries of the classroom also. So like when she mentioned, or when he mentioned that now you're reaching across to 50,000 students, you cannot do that in a classroom, right? So it pushed us to break those boundaries. And it could not have happened if the technology wasn't there. So the technology systems were already there, but all of us are fairly apprehensive, to tell a 55-year-old faculty or a doctor for that matter, कि अब आप technology के through करो, it will become very difficult. They will say, no, we don't need it because we already have our captive set of audience. We already have a captive set of students. But now, everyone is realizing. So at time of COVID, it was a need. But now everyone realizes that it is just simply better.
Absolutely.
It's better that we continue using it. We have seen the benefits, and we have seen the benefits not only in numbers, but we have seen the benefits in sustainability, in the profitability, in existentiality. So those are the benefits which probably no one can take away from us. And you had a second part to this question also, right? You wanted to know what are the challenges?
Yeah, challenges will come to that. We'll come to that also. So very important point. So as you mentioned about, I was probably thinking of those lines. I was able to connect with our journey when we started as a Meritto, right? It's like it was largely a traditional, people were accustomed to the traditional way of doing the things on Excel or offline. Sometimes it's more of a reluctance to move from, again, a traditional to a digitized platform. So that was quite a barrier, and that's what probably we were able to break through, and probably COVID times have pushed us, and it has made the people realize in a hard way that you have to move to online, you have to come online, you have to revolutionize, you have to digitize your processes, if you have to scale, if you want to enhance the user experience. So we'll come back to you, sir. So before that, I would like to reach out to you, Prachi ma'am. So it's time probably we try to know more trade secrets from you, largely around, as an international premium university, how do you probably, because if you talk about a lot of, we have audience from the higher ed, and when we talk about international, the marketing makes the campaign strategies optimized, it completely changes. So is it the same for the international? How do they evaluate? How do they measure, track their campaigns? What are the key metrics that you look out for? And how does technology helps you in optimizing those ROIs?
To be honest, we have not experimented with any marketing campaign which doesn't actually link with the CRM that we are working with, because lately what we observed, I completely agree with Lebu, it is super expensive. Whether you are a startup or you are a university of 200 years old, at the end of the day, everyone just wants to make sure that their organization is not just simply running their money in water, rather they are able to invest it in the right position, because obviously the money which is left over can be utilized in a better way for the students' benefit at the end of the day by giving them better facilities with that money. So that being said, yes, a lot of the campaigns that in general universities have been using are very much integrated with the CRMs that our consultants or education agents, whatever you want to call them, actually work on, and we want to make sure that we are investing in those campaigns only, because the kind of, I would say, conversion rate that we've seen compared to a general Google AdWord or a Facebook word ad versus the kind of campaigns that we've been, digital campaigns, as well as the offline campaigns or direct sales ones that we do with the enrollment systems or the CRM systems of these agents that we work with, have been super productive for us. And that being said, we've been even able to further categorize where we want to target. For example, every institution will have their key set of programs that they wish to promote. For example, in this year, when we were about to reach a 200 year, the university wanted to make sure that we are emphasizing on the sustainability, renewable energy, solar energy, hydro. For example, Manchester Met is currently working with the Indian Telangana government on a project to actually upbring that kind of work level. So we wanted to make sure that if we are launching that kind of a research project with a government here in India, there are students and there are skilled labor as well who is able to work on that. So we wanted to make sure that we are particularly targeting those subject area and audience which will be fit for it. The platforms we used literally made our job so much easier compared to if I go back 10-15 years of my career, which was a nightmare to go through those Excel data and find out which schools are actually sending us what kind of students to what cities and areas. So these platforms really help us streamline that and able to market for particular course as well, not just for faculty level. So I hope that answers your question.
Bit open or more of a, like a rapid fire. So we can start with so Dr. Nachiket Bhatia with you. If you have to, maybe for a larger audience, if you have to maybe suggest any, or what would be the key parameters that anybody should look out for any technology in order to, if they're evaluating a tech for their enrollment processes, what should be the core parameter they should look out for?
Like, the communication should be very effective, essential and concise, and it should actually lead to your CAC leading towards zero. I think that's the most important parameter for me.
Great, sure, thank you. Abhishek sir, if you have to highlight any key metrics or that one should
So I think
look out for.
there would be three. First would be that every decision, and even this, should be keeping in mind students' interest. The student is benefiting, then it is a good technology to adopt. That's the first one. Second is, the purpose should be not only to adopt a technology, to make sure that it is usable and the usage is good. So just buying a particular system and considering that the legacy systems will go away will not happen, because the team will not accept it easily. So make sure that it is a usable system and people are using it. And third, probably one of the most important ones, stay invested in a system for some time. Because any kind of a system is a change. And by nature, we are resistant to a lot of changes. And our team and our students are also humans. And they would have same kind of reluctance. So you'll have to handhold them, but make sure that you keep on using those systems for certain amount of time, and keeping in mind those budget constraints and regulations and government regulations and geographical boundaries. But yes, over a sustained period of time, a new and better technology will always be faster, it will be better, and it will be more accurate. This is definitely there.
Great, super. Prachi ma'am, please.
I think from my point of view, the most important aspect will be security towards data breach. This has been a huge concern for us in the university sector. There have been many such things which I'm sure you must have read on the news, which I will not like to say here on the platform, that has been literally not just how should I put it, not just money concern wherein you have to pay to actually overcome that hurdle, but students suffered because of that, because the whole system froze for us when that data breach happens, if it happens for any institution, and then the students are literally waiting for a decision on their application for over months. So I feel any system who is working towards this work of supporting education institutions, they need to make sure that they have a very strong security towards data breach.
Absolutely. I guess in today's scenario, this is one of the most critical component, data security. Great. Please, Libu sir.
Well, my panelists have covered almost all the points, so I'll just put that one cherry on top. Everybody is pressurized, everybody is under pressure to adopt technology, and there is a eagerness to do so. My only point to people who want to adopt technology is adopt something that suits you. It should suit your DNA. It should suit who you are as an organization. I have worked with various organizations. We do the same thing. Get an inquiry, help them file a visa, send them to a university. It's remarkable how every organization uses a different method in that process. Nobody uses the same processes. So one must adopt a technology that suits their DNA, that they're comfortable with, and not be under the pressure to adopt something just because somebody else is successful with it.
Thank you so much, sir.